So, continuing on with our Bat review, if you will, with Batman Day coming up, I had to come out of the cow because it was starting to choke me to death. I don't know how they wear it in the movies, but for me, it's not an all-the-time type situation. So we reviewed Batman vs. Superman, the Batman that came out this year. Headed back a little bit into the Batman movies. The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Christian Bale's perfect trilogy, if you will. A little less than perfect with The Dark Knight Rises, but all in all, still good movies. Batman Begins is the first time we actually see a real deal, true Batman origin story. So in other words, where we had Batman this year with Robert Pattinson taking place in year 2, he's kind of been settling in, still learning the ropes, but settling in. Batman Begins is literally what the title says. It is Batman beginning. Origin story. It takes us all the way from when he was a child, parents being killed, all the way up until, him actually fighting and saving the city from Ra's al Ghul. Played by, I might add, Liam Neeson. Perfectly cast for that role. But yeah, Christian Bale kind of came along in this scene. He was young when Batman Begins came out. And kind of, at this point, before Batman Begins, all we had was Tim Burton and Michael Keaton's Batman movies, which were good. I like them, Some people say they don't really hold up. I like them. But up until that point, that's kind of what we were used to, that over-the-top, neon light city vibe, sort of like cheese fest type situation. But with Batman Begins, we get a more grounded take. We feel like this could take place in a real world type situation. Rich guy, comes from tragedy, comes from wealth, so that's kind of where he gets all his goodies from. Travels the world, learns how to fight, learns how to take on, at one point, Liam Neeson tells him, you can fight 6 men, I will teach you how to take on 600, so, yeah. Pretty cool. Batman Begins establishes us with Christian Bale's version of Batman. And it's directed by Christopher Nolan, who does an amazing job at directing movies. They just kind of revamped the whole series there and did a really good job. Good action, grounded effects. The villains are real world based. You got Ra's al Ghul, who kind of comes off as a terrorist, and then the Scarecrow, who is a nut, psychiatric doctor who kind of dabbles in chemist stuff on the side. But anyway, good movie. Not too long, but good. Has a little bit of intense, maybe frightening scenes for the kiddos, but it's a good movie. The Dark Knight blew everything that we had ever expected from comic book movies out the water. Just blew it out the water and said, this is what they should be. This is how they are from now on. Dark, gritty, real. Christian Bale's back as Batman. He's kind of established himself in Gotham at this point. Everybody's sort of afraid of the Batman and don't really want to cross him, but one person does. One person is crazy enough to do it, and that is the Joker. Up until this point, we've had Jack Nicholson. Before him, trying to think of the guy's name that was in the Batman 60 series. But up until this point, we hadn't had anybody that was just like legitimately terrifying, crap your pants scared Joker. And in this instance, we get it from Heath Ledger, who more or less brings chaos and intensity to the Joker, but still, you gotta think, this guy's a little bit, he's slick, he has a method to his madness, if you will. You know, it opens with a bank robbery, and that's him just by the creepy stance he has when they pick him up, you know, to go do the robbery and this and that. But when they reveal that it is the Joker, from then on, Heath Ledger steals the show. It came out in 2008, and of course, tragedy struck. Heath Ledger had passed away before the movie actually even ever came out, so he wasn't able to really see the benefits of his work. So, which is a shame because he really did earn that Oscar he got. So yeah, it's a Batman movie, but the Joker stole the show, in my opinion. It's a long one. It's, you know, longer than Batman Begins. I think it's 2 hours and 40-something minutes, but it's worth it. And I'm sure anybody watching this have pretty much probably already seen it, but if you hadn't, if you're one of the 3 or 4 people in the whole world that hadn't, check it out. It is good. It is more than just a comic book movie. It is, I don't know, it's just cinema greatness, you know? I mean, it's good. Like I said, it's a little bit frightening with the Joker scene, so maybe the kiddos may not be old enough to watch it yet. You know, mine tend to still kind of skip past that one and go straight to another one, but it's a good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I watched it 3 or 4 times when it was in theaters. Bought multiple different collector's editions of the Blu-rays and copies, and as you can see, the posters and what have you. But yeah, it's a good movie. I like how they kind of drew inspiration from other movies. The interrogation scene from it takes place between, you know, Batman and the Joker. I don't know, you kind of get a little bit of a feel like the movie Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Kind of that level of intensity and those 2 interactions. Really good stuff. Like I said, it came along and it blew everything else out of the water that was attempting to be comic book movies, and kind of changed the way we've seen them. You know, it changed the way we looked at the whole subgenre of comic book superhero films, with that being that they can feel real. You know, they can have that real vibe, and we can kind of have them set in the real world. And so, which is, you know, it's a dark movie, but hey, it's in the title. It's Dark Knight. Really good. Fast forward a couple years later, I think The Dark Knight was 2008. The Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012. News broke that the villain for this one was going to be Bane, which was, in my opinion, kind of had me a little worried, because Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale's Batman movies up to this point had been real world based. In other words, the villain had to be believable, and it had to be a story that didn't really rely on a whole lot of science fiction, if any, real world based. So Bane is this character in the comic books where you're like, he's on this stuff called Venom, which makes him super strong. He's this big, dumb, you know, ogre-like thing. Anyway, not the case with The Dark Knight Rises. They kind of revamped his character as in being a member of the League of Shadows, which was Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul from the first one. So it comes, with that element, it kind of comes full circle. And so Bane is a ex-member of the League of Shadows, which so was Batman. So they share that connection. But Bane is more of a terrorist in this movie than he was in the comic books. You know, he's still super strong, still a big guy, but with this one, Batman faces kind of a different adversary. With the Joker, he faced, you know, somebody who was unpredictable, crazy, still smart, but so he had to kind of outwit him. But with this one, with Bane, he faced all of that, but combined with the fact that Bane is super strong and can whoop the snot out of Batman, and which, spoiler alert, does happen in the film about midways. Really awesome fight. combined with Batman and Bane that takes place. The way it was shot was amazing. There was no score in the scene. It was just these two guys going at it, blow for blow, break for break. Exciting. It was a good fight scene. The movie itself, I don't know. People tend to kind of give it a little shade just because I really don't know why. Because I mean, it's a good movie. It was very long. But here's the thing: when you follow something as good as The Dark Knight was, anything that comes after that in your franchise will not probably be as good or at the same level. So I think people kind of compared the two and they were like, well, The Dark Knight's better. It was better, I agree. But here's the thing: The Dark Knight Rises is still part of this Batman story. It's part of Christian Bale's arc coming full circle and finding a conclusion that benefits it. And that's what we really do with this one. Is it does come to a head and come to an end, and sort of it does a good job of capping off Christian Bale's tenure as Batman. So I liked it. It comes on a good bit, and when it does, I'll stop on it and kind of finish it or whatever and watch. But good movie. Check it out. Franchise as a whole, the trilogy as a whole, I should say, with Christian Bale's movies, really good. They're not as, I don't think they're not as realistic and greedy as The Batman with Robert Pattinson, and they're not overly stylized as Ben Affleck's, but they're somewhere right there in the middle. So check them out. They're anywhere. They're on TV a lot. Amazon, Vudu, the works. They were on HBO Max, but I'm not sure if they still are. But, as far as it goes, it's a good trilogy to binge. It takes a while because, they're about 3 hours apiece. So, the man right there did a good job. I'm Batman.